"Please buy our puppy," the little girl whispered. She didn't know he was the CEO who'd fired her mom last month. It was a gray Saturday morning in early December, the kind where the air smelled like snow and the city sidewalks were slick with yesterday's rain. David Holloway, CEO of a booming tech firm in downtown Chicago, had just stepped out of a meeting with investors. Despite his towering success, he felt strangely empty. Money, awards, recognition, none of it filled the ache that had grown inside him since his divorce last year. That morning, he walked aimlessly through a local neighborhood farmer's market, trying to escape the sterile luxury of his penthouse and the silence that came with it. That's when he saw her. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8, with messy brown hair tied in 2 uneven pigtails. Her coat was too thin for the cold, and her sneakers were soaked. She stood behind a makeshift cardboard sign that read in a child's handwriting, "Puppies for sale, $10." Next to her sat a small crate, with one golden brown puppy snuggled in a fleece blanket. Behind the girl was a worn-down woman, probably in her mid-30s, shoulders hunched, trying to avoid eye contact with passing strangers. She looked tired. Very tired. David slowed his steps. As he neared, the little girl looked up at him with eyes too big and wise for her age. She hesitated, then softly whispered, "Please, please buy our puppy." Her voice was barely audible, but it hit David like a punch to the gut. Something in her expression tugged at him, the kind of desperation that couldn't be faked. He crouched to meet her at eye level, his expensive overcoat brushing the wet pavement. "Why are you selling your puppy?" he asked gently. The girl bit her lip. "We need money. Mommy says we can't afford to keep Charlie. She says we might have to move again. But Charlie's a good puppy. He doesn't eat much." David turned his eyes toward the woman behind her. Her face had gone pale. Their eyes met, and then her expression shifted from tired to shocked. He recognized her too. Her name was Megan Alvarez. She had worked at his company in the accounting department. He remembered her clearly because she had been part of the massive layoffs last month, cost-cutting measures, the board said. She'd pleaded for time, explained her situation, a single mom, no child support, living paycheck to paycheck. But David had signed the dismissal anyway. Numbers were numbers. Now here she was. No longer a name on a spreadsheet. But a mother, stripped of pride, watching her daughter beg strangers to save their dog. "Megan," he said softly. She stood straighter, eyes welling. "Mr. Holloway. I didn't know you lived around here." "I don't," he replied, still crouched by the puppy. "I was just walking." The girl didn't understand the tension between the adults. She only saw a man in a suit. She picked up the small puppy and held him out with trembling hands. "You can have him for $5. He's really sweet. And he knows how to sit now." David took the puppy in his arms. It was warm and trembling slightly. He looked down at the little girl, then up at Megan, who looked away, cheeks flushed with shame. In that moment, something inside David cracked open. He saw his own daughter, now living with her mother in another state. He remembered how she used to beg for a dog before the divorce. He saw the empty chair across his dining table. He saw the lifeless office where he made decisions that ruined people's lives from a distance. "I don't want to buy Charlie," David said quietly, handing the puppy back to the girl. Her face fell. "I want to adopt him," he added with a small smile. "And I'd like to pay a very special price, let's say, a new job for your mom." Megan's eyes snapped back to his. "What? You were a good employee. Reliable, honest. I should have fought harder to keep people like you," David said. "I'm starting a new department focused on small business finance. I need someone with your experience." Tears streamed down Megan's cheeks, and she dropped to her knees beside her daughter, hugging her close. The girl looked confused, then hopeful. David smiled gently. "Only if you'll accept, of course." And Charlie, you'll still get to visit him. I live just a few blocks from the park. We'll make sure he gets plenty of love." The little girl beamed, throwing her arms around his waist without hesitation. "Thank you, mister. Thank you." David knelt again, this time not as a CEO, but as a man who had finally remembered what it meant to feel. He ruffled her hair, eyes misty. That cold morning, under a cardboard sign and a little girl's whisper, something beautiful had begun. Not just a job restored, or a puppy saved, but a heart healed. And a man awakened.